DM073 Gaming is brought to you by Happy Little Hug Factory. If you're looking for pre-orders of the upcoming sets, including singles or booster boxes of previous sets that have come out, you can check the link down below. Happy Little Hug Factory also has a buy list for Force of Will, so you can get rid of those extra cards you have laying around and turn it into new upcoming product. Thanks so much, guys. Check them out and enjoy the video. Hey there guys, DM073 here, bringing you today's spoilers for Winds of the Ominous Moon, as well as kind of a catch-up on the past two spoilers. Let's just jump right in. We are seeing more white panda support. So we have the Holy Prince's Nanny Citron, our little Holy Prince there in the background. 2-drop 5/7 panda with quick cast. When it enters the field, prevent the next 500 damage that would be dealt to target J Resonator or yourself this turn. So she can stop burn damage, as well as being able to stop damage that's being done to a Resonator or J Ruler. I think that's pretty interesting, especially since she herself can stop damage on herself. So you can kind of flash her in, prevent the next damage to herself, and then block. And if something doesn't have 1200 defense or 1200 attack, then she just survives and just is a really solid blocker, and then potentially doesn't even take that much damage and can survive until next turn. So overall, that's pretty interesting. Also, you have to remember that if she's a panda, when she enters, you're going to get a gem off of Tigris, which I think is pretty cool. Next up, we have Jewel Illusion, 1-drop. I actually really like this spell a lot. So it's a chant with quick cast, banish X gems as an additional cost to play this card, and to target J's X J/Resonators gain +3/+3 until end of turn. So it's a 1-drop instant speed that is a potential board pump for +3/+3. For pandas that like to go wide, like that is a deck strategy that can be used for pandas. This is actually pretty cool, especially since, you know, 3 gems is not hard to come by, and suddenly you can give +3/+3 to 3 of your things, all for 1 will. I think that's really, really cool for pandas. I think that's a very awesome utility card for pandas, or resource for pandas to be able to use to get that kind of very aggressive panda strategy. Next up, we have White Leaf. So it's an elemental, white elemental, which is interesting. 3-drop 8/8. You can banish it to gain 8 life, or you can inheritance it for 0 and just gain 6. I actually think this card is insanely good for Gil. So, because of the fact that it's inheritance 0, right? So you can just pitch this from your hand to the grave, and for Gil, that's great because he likes to have elementals in the grave. I think this card probably is just a snap 4 of in pretty much any Gil deck, because it's an elemental that, 1, has leaf in its name, right? So that's relevant. But 2, just instant speed 600 life, and it's an elemental to fuel your spells. So I think this is actually really, really insane for Gil decks, and I'm good to see that it's still getting support. And then we have Resuscitating Will. So it's a 1-drop chant aura. So we'll have to probably look into seeing what that means later on. And it just says quick cast, recover target J/res. So that's pretty interesting. I'm interested to see kind of what comes out of that. Being able to untap something is very, very cool, especially since you can untap a J Ruler as well. And it's aura, so we'll have to see exactly what that means. It's also really nice to be able to potentially protect something that so you don't want to have it be attacked or something like that. Going into the spoilers, however, from the previous few days, we have our Darkness spoilers. We started with Rhea, who gets her new artwork here. Very, very interesting, and then flips over to show her final sealed item. So we'll go ahead down here. Eye of Ragnarok. When this card enters the field, look at your opponent's hand, choose a card. Until the end of your opponent's turn, your opponent can't play cards that share a name with that card. So I imagine that it was going to be some kind of hand peek for her second unsealed item, which is fine. It's kind of expected with the eyeball thing. What I'm disappointed about with this card is the fact that it's only the one time when it enters the field. This ability 100% should have been, in my opinion, look at your opponent's hand once per turn during your turn to be able to kind of continuously lock them out. The fact that it's just a one-time effect is just a little bit disappointing to me. It's not even a God's Art, which I wish it could have been. But it's still, I mean, it's a nice little tool for Rhea, at least to be able to get that extra hand peek when she flips, so you can kind of sort some things out that she flips the most advantageous. The problem is it can be chased to as well, so your opponent could potentially like pitch a bunch of stuff that they don't want you to lock them out of, which then leaves them with weird cards in their hand that they're probably not going to want to cast anyway. But overall, the artwork is really nice. I'm really excited to see what this card looks like, potentially even as an Uber, and it's cool that she at least is getting some kind of bonus effect. Next up, we have Life or Death Struggle, 2-drop chant. Each player discards a card, then each player banishes a resonator with the highest cost among resonators they control. So just a symbol like that, it's kind of like Soul Hunt is back, but it specifically targets the things that are the highest cost. So that's pretty interesting. And then we have the Night Before the Decisive Battle. This spell I think is actually pretty relevant. So it's 1-drop chant, search your deck for a mystery, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then shuffle your deck. So why is this card good? Because we have cards like Vitality Drain, which are mysteries. So this is nice to be able to like potentially grab into those higher costed mysteries rather than having to just play 1-drop mysteries and search them up with Gil Lapis. Now whether this replaces Gil Lapis enough, who knows, because Gil Lapis is also a body and most of the good cards are 1-drops, but it would be interesting to see kind of what comes out of it, especially after Gil Lapis rotates. And then we have Time Reversal. It's a chant, not a mystery chant. It says draw a card, put a mystery counter on your J-Ruler, and then you can awaken it by paying 3 mystery counters. At the next end of turn, you recover all entities you control. This includes Magic Stones, because Magic Stones are technically entities. So you can kind of like play this, burn out the rest of your will for the turn and playing cards, and then recover all of them to going into your opponent's turn. I actually think this is an amazing card for Rhea, especially control style Rhea. I'm very excited to see kind of what comes out of it. Next up, we go into Win. We had our first round of Win spoilers, and frankly, I was a little disappointed, honestly, which is kind of good to say. First up, we have Fairy of the Holy Tree, 3-drop 7/8, and it just says you gain barrier. And it's a fairy, which is interesting. So it says you gain barrier. Why do I not think this is a great card? So I think that there's not enough stuff right now, unfortunately, that targets players. It just says your opponent. There's a few cards that say target player does something, which then barrier effect, but this is a 3-drop without flying with an okay stat line that gives you protection against some things that aren't really super relevant, and that's why I just don't think that this card is that great. Could be though great as, you know, in Epic Stories format, which I think is great. Next up, we have Reincarnation of the Holy Tree Yggdrasil, 2-drop 0/8 Ethereal Tree Elemental. When another resonator you control is put into the graveyard, you search your deck for a resonator with total cost less than that resonator. So if a 1-drop dies, you're out of luck because it can't get anything off of it. Reveal it and put it into your hand, and then shuffle your deck. Why do I like this card? I like it for Gil. I think that it's probably too easy to kill, and you have to have it sit on board for a longer period of time to be able to get the most out of it. Things like Lowrite aren't going to fetch other Lowrites. Things like 2-drops are only going to search you 1-drops. I think this card is pretty balanced, right, in the fact that it's not less than or equal to. It has to be less than. So if you try to flood the field with 1-drops, this card isn't going to help you at all. Which is a little bit weird for Gil too, because a lot of the main elementals are just 1-drops. But I could definitely see it coming into play with other decks, you know, potentially that use a lot of creatures or have played kind of bigger costed creatures. Next up, we have Seed of Rebirth, 3-drop chant story. Put target resonator with total cost 1 and target resonator with total cost 2 from your graveyard into the field. It is a story. It is a story that doesn't have quick cast. So Sherry can technically cast this at instant speed. Here's the weirdness of it. She has to have a 1-drop. You have to have a 1-drop and a 2-drop into your graveyard to be able to play this card, which I think gives a little bit of limitation to when it becomes relevant. But the fact that, you know, things like Lowrite is a 1-drop and there's a lot of 2-drops in Scheherazade decks is a little bit disconcerting. However, I think that Scheherazade, this is more suited for like a control Sherry who isn't necessarily playing doll tempo, but is playing the like doll that lets her draw a card as well as Lowrites, because your graveyard's going to be probably heavier filled there too. So the idea being like your opponent casts a really powerful enter effect. You use Sherry to bring back a Lowrite and then bring back the 2-drop doll so you can draw a card later, all for free because this card was in your extra deck. I'm not necessarily thinking this card is going to be mainboarded in Sherry extra decks, but we'll definitely have to see what happens. It's especially not if Sherry continues to be the dominant force, because most Sherrys are just going to then mainboard Evil Elemental Uprising and then just punish this spell super hard. Lastly, we have Vivienne, our fairy lady coming back from Ataraktia. 3-drop 6/5. When this card enters the field, put target non-magic stone card from your graveyard into your hand. In my opinion, this card is insanely well balanced. It's high costed, gets you anything with an okay stat line but no flying, and gets you anything you need back from your graveyard into your hand. I think that this is really, really good. It can be killed pretty easily, so it is kind of a heavy investment. It's like a mini Frigg, right? But it can grab you anything you need from the graveyard. I'm actually really excited about this. I think this was, if this is kind of the direction they're taking green in terms of power level and balance, I'm pretty happy with it. And overall, I'm just thinking these spoilers are probably where green needs to be going, if not even weaker, to kind of help us even things out overall in this game. But that was it for the spoilers, guys. Let me know what you guys think about it. I'll try to keep back up to date with the once per night spoiler videos. And until next time, this is DMO73 signing off. Huge thanks to the patrons of the channel. You see their names here on the screen as well as down below in the description. They are what help make this channel run and help me do these awesome projects for you guys. If you feel like joining the channel and getting access to all the cool perks that come with being a patron, click on the P on the screen or the link down below. Thanks so much. See you next time.